Hi everyone. Today Salesforce Consulting Admin Training Day 23. So let's see what are we going to learn today. Today our focus is we'll go through the previous session, quick overview of the previous session, and we'll talk about the Schema Builder and what are the navigation steps for the Schema Builder. And we'll take a use case and we will implement a use case. And what are the Schema Builder drawbacks? And we'll have a homework and quiz. Then we will talk about the field history tracking. And then we'll start the relationship. So in the relationship, we'll look at the lookup relationship and one of the use case questions, interview questions. Quickly. So what did we learn in previous session? I'm sharing my screen. Are you guys not able to see my screen?
Yeah, ma'am. It is visible.
Okay, Akash, just check your network. Okay, so previous session. What did we learn in previous session?
Data loader page layouts.
The last thing which we have seen is page layout. So we were discussing about how to create a page layout and how to assign a page layout to the different users and what can we do on the page layout. So for example, if I wanted to make a mandatory, a field should be mandatory, but while creating the field, it's not a mandatory, but only from the page layout if I wanted to make a mandatory. So right now I can see wherever the star marks is there. So those are mandatory fields. But in case if I wanted to make a field to be mandatory from the page layout, so we just need to click on that particular field and go to the setting and just check this here, required. So when we say required, that means this field will be required for this page layout. So this is only for this page layout, we can make it as a required. Now, in case if I want a field to be read only, that means it should not be editable. So for this page layout, there are few fields which I wanted to make it as a read only. So we can check this and click on OK. Let's assume that, let me remove this. Let's assume that I wanted to make position status required, open date required, and minimum pay. So I have selected three options right now. I have selected three fields. One is a position status, another one is a open date, another one is a minimum pay. Right? So I want these fields to be mandatory on this page layout. So instead of selecting each one of them settings, what I did is I have selected all these three. So by clicking on Shift and then I have selected all this, you can click on a property on any one of them. For example, I'm clicking on a property on open date. So when I click on a property on one of the field, it shows all of them, the one which I have selected. I have selected the position status, I have selected the open date, I have selected the minimum pay. So now I can say all these three are required. So immediately it will be shown as a required. Now if I wanted to make this, remove this, whatever the required is there, just remove it for all of them. Just select it and uncheck. So basically you can, instead of going with each one of the field, you can select multiple fields at a time, and then you can make the field mandatory from the page layout. So we can make the field mandatory from the page layout. So this is what we have seen. And now we will go to the Schema Builder. Now Schema Builder. We have discussed in the previous session why we need a Schema Builder, what is the purpose of it. So what is the Schema Builder here? What is a Schema Builder? We have discussed in the previous session.
For creating objects and fields.
Creating
Objects and fields.
Creating objects.
It's a graphical representation of between different objects.
To see the parent and
And relationship between
relationship between the
relationship between objects also.
Right. So there are three things which I can see here. By using the schema builder, I can view what are the objects that we have. What are the objects are present in Salesforce. That means these are the existing objects. So we can view existing object. We can view the existing objects, as well as we can see the connection between the two objects. Two objects, and we can view what are the fields that we have. Right? So what is this? How can I view? It is going to show me a user interface, right? It is going to show me like this is the object, this is the object, and I will have this relationship here. So which is multiple relationship like this, it is going to show me. So that means Schema Builder is a graphical representation tool. Schema Builder is a graphical representation tool which allow us to perform like it will show the existing object, it will show what is the relationship between the object, it is going to show what are the fields. Also, we can create, the new one is, I can create a new object using the Schema Builder. I can create a new object, as well as I can create a new fields within the object. So the new thing is that we can create a new object by using the Schema Builder, as well as we can create a new fields within the object. So Schema Builder is a graphical representational tool which allow us to perform the two operations. Those are, by using the Schema Builder, we can represent the existing object structure. What is the existing object that it has? Where we can see in the canvas. So we will see what is the canvas. So basically it will show the existing object structure in the pictorial format, right? So pictorial format is nothing but it is going to show me the what is the object within this object, how many fields are there, everything. It is going to show me the information like this. And the second one is, by using the Schema Builder, we can build a schema based on the business requirement. That means I can create a custom object. I can create a custom object. We can create a fields also within the object, and we can also implement the relationship between the object. So using the Schema Builder, the first thing is we can see the existing object information in pictorial format. As well as we can see the relationship, what are the connection or the relationship is there. We can see that. Also, we can see the fields, right? Existing fields we can see. Existing fields we can see. And second one is I can create. The second one is can create. Developer or an admin can create new object based on the business requirement, as well as developer or admin can create new fields within the object based on the requirement. Also, we can implement or we can build or we can map the associate the object. Basically, the relationship we can build it. Relationship we can build it. Relationship or a connection which can be built. So two things are possible by using the Schema Builder. We can view the pictorial format of the existing object, the structure. Also, we can create a new object and a new fields. Now, what are the navigation steps for the schema builder? So navigation steps for the schema builder is click on a setup menu, search for an option schema builder in the quick find. So let's go there. So home, setup, search for a schema builder. Click on this schema builder. So when you click on that schema builder, we'll be able to see this screen, right? So we'll be able to see the screen. So let's click on a schema builder. Okay, so schema builder it's divided into two sections. One is a left panel which we have, and another one is a right panel. So the one which is there in the right panel is called canvas. And the left one, we have two things in the left. If you see here, there are two tabs are there in the left panel. One is a objects, another one is a element. Objects is nothing but which is going to show me all the objects that are exist in the Salesforce org. It is going to show me all the objects. Everything it is going to show. For example, if I wanted to clear the canvas, so what I can do, I can simply click on this clear all so that my canvas is empty. Right now, nothing is there. Now I'll go to the object. When I go to the object, I can view all the objects that are exist here. So I'll select an account. So account is added here, right? And also I'll take the contact. So I'll take the contact. So somewhere here, you can see this is, you can say that this is a mini layout kind of a thing. So one is here, one of the object is here, another object you see here, it's bottom. Now you have to bring this object on top. Just mention here auto layout, click on this auto layout. When you click on a auto layout, it will bring the contact object on top. So almost near you will see when you click on this auto layout. You can see here. Now I have two objects. One is an account object, another one is a contact object. One is account object, another one is contact object. Now I can drag it somewhere here or wherever I want, I can drag it. So this is zoom in, zoom out. If you say here zoom in, it is going to reduce it. So these options are zoom in, zoom out. Now, whatever this link you see here, so basically this is going to explain me what is the relationship between the contact and object, right? So by looking at this, I can understand that what is the relationship. And if you hover on that particular thing, it can show what is the relationship here. But here, how can I understand which one is a parent, which one is a child? How can I understand which one is a parent, which one is child?
That three dots is a child.
Right. So to understand which one is a parent, which one is a child, look at this line. Which are the side you see multiple connections are there, right? That means this is a child and this is parent. Parent is always connecting to the child. That means multiple child's connections are there. One parent can have multiple child connections. So parent and this is a child. Now, this way you can understand in the schema builder which one is a parent object, which one is a child object. Now going back to the left panel, in the left panel, we know that object is going to show all the different object information that exist in our system, right? Now, in case instead of viewing the all the objects, if you wanted to view only the standard object, then select the standard object here from the drop down. It is going to show only the standard object. Now let's suppose I wanted to view only the custom object, not the standard object. So just click on a custom object. So it is going to show only the custom object here. System object is whatever by default, there are few system objects. It's not a standard object, but it is system objects. By default, it is available for every object, like an activity, event, task, user. These are system objects. And if you wanted to see only the one which are selected here, only those objects, if you wanted to view, you can select the selected objects, right? Now that is the filter here which can be done. Now the next one is elements. So when you click on elements, this is the second option. The first option which we have already seen, which is a pictorial format of the existing object. Now the second option is create or build a schema based on the business requirement. That means create a custom object based on the business requirement. In order to create an object, so let's clear out the canvas here. Now let's click on the element. Okay. Whenever we wanted to create an object from the schema builder, what we have to do, we have to drag this onto the canvas. We have to drag this onto the canvas. When we drag it, it is going to ask me certain information in order to create an object. What are the information it is going to ask me? Like, for example, whenever I'm creating a new object, what are the fields that we have? Label, plural name, object name, and then record name, allow reports, allow activity, track fields, allow in charter group, right? Allow sharing, bulk API, streaming API, and very important is launch new custom tab wizard after saving this custom object. If I select this, then only my object, whatever the object that I have created, will be visible on the app launcher. If I uncheck this, what are the object that we have created, it will not be visible on the app launcher. So these are the very important one. Now, in case if I'm creating an object, now let's see the use case. So the use case is create a custom object, hiring manager. So basically, hiring managers are HR. I wanted to create a data related to HR. Right, so hiring manager through the schema builder, and we need to add the fields. The fields are hiring manager name, what is the HR name, and what is their location. They are in multiple places because the company is in multiple places. So this HR is from which location, and what is the HR contact number, and what is the HR email ID, right? What is the designation of HR, whether they are a HR executive, senior HR executive, a recruitment team, or a specialist team, or a HR manager, what is the designation of that HR, and what is the current CTC. So these are the fields I wanted to create it. Everything we wanted to do it from the schema builder. So today I'll be creating the object hiring manager from the schema builder, and I'll be creating the fields, all these fields from the schema builder. Now let's go. Now the first thing is that I need to create an object. So I need to create a custom object. So I'll be dragging it. So as soon as I'm dragging it, see the canvas is highlighted with the green color. Canvas is highlighted with green color. So I'll drag and I'll place here. When I drag it, the first screen it is going to ask me to enter the label, plural label, and the object name, description, everything I can see. Allow reports, allow activity, tracking history, right? So let's create a hiring manager. Hiring manager, which is a label name. Plural name is hiring managers. Hiring managers. And then the description, you can give the description, data type text. So allow reports, allow activity, track field history, in development, deployed. You wanted to add notes and attachment, yes. But do you observe there is a one option which is missing? What is the option that is missing?
Tab option.
View in a tab.
Tab is missing. So one of the drawbacks from the schema builder is whenever we are creating the schema object from the schema builder, we cannot create a tab. So if I do not select this tab, what will happen? While creating the
Tab
object,
we
Not
cannot
get
show in
create.
art launcher.
Tab.
We cannot see this object.
We cannot see
launcher.
in UI page.
we cannot see on the app launcher. So here, whenever I'm creating the schema, whenever I'm creating the object, right, based on the business requirement, we cannot, by default, it will not ask, schema builder will not ask the option called tab, which is launch a new custom tab wizard after saving this custom object. So that option is not available. Now let's click on a save. Now, what will happen whenever the object is created? Object will be created as well as the table will be created and 5
Standard
fields which are commonly created by the Salesforce. And then business logic will be created. Now I can see the table has created table, and let's check whether the object is created or not. Hiring manager. Object is created, hiring manager. So from the schema builder, as soon as I create the object, one, it created the object and it created the table with the name of hiring manager _ C, and then it created the fields, 5 fields it's created by default, and business logic at the backend it created. So what is the business logic name, which is same as the table name?
Hiring man.
Hiring managers. So everything is created. Everything is created. But only the thing is that it did not create the tab. The one which it did not create is the tab it did not create. These all are created, but the tab did not create it, which is not possible through the schema builder, which is not possible through the schema builder. Now, the object has been created, the table has been created. Now we need to create these fields. Now, do I need to create a hiring manager name?
No.
Why?
It is standard. It is standard field.
It's already created. It's already created. Whenever we create an object, that time it is created the hiring manager name, which is a standard field. Now, the next one which we have to create is location. What is the data type for location?
Pick list.
What is the data type for the contact number?
Number. Number.
Number.
Phone.
Phone.
Okay. Phone.
What is the data type for the email
Email.
address?
Email.
What is the data type for the designation?
Pick list. Pick list.
What is the current CTC?
Currency.
Currency. Now the first one is I need to create the pick list, which is a location. So the first one is we have to create the location. So location is pick list. So I'll simply hold this. Whenever I hold it, immediately it is highlighting the object. So I just need to drag it here and place. Whenever I place it, it is going to ask me that what is the field name. Here we have to create a location. Location and the description help text. What are the values? Let's say Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, and let's give some other, right? So let's say Vizag. So these are the one which I'm entering the values. Now, these are not in a order. Now, whenever it is showing the pick list, I wanted to display in alphabetic order. So what I'll do is I'll check this. When I check this, what it does, it displays the values alphabetically, not in the order whatever we have entered. Now simply I'll click on save. The location is created. I can see the location has been created with the pick list. Now the next one is a contact number. So contact number is a phone. So I'll drag it phone. Let's say contact number. Right, so let's give it as a required and click on save. Now my contact number is created. And the next one is the email. So let's put the email address. So HR email address is mandatory. So I'll select this as a required, click on save. Right, then we have a designation. Designation is a pick list. Designation. And what are the designation that we have? HR executive and a senior HR executive. And then we have a recruitment and specialist. And then HR manager. And show these free, what are the values are there? Show those values in alphabetic order. And then click on save. That is done. Designation is done. Next one is a CTC, which is a currency. So current CTC, field name, let's give it as a maximum 7. And let's say required, click on 7 to save. Now I'm done with creating the object. Now if you go here, hiring manager, if you click on your fields and relationship, it is going to show me all the fields, whatever I have created from the schema builder. I can see all of them here. I can see all of them here. Now, but can I see that hiring manager here? Let me refresh. Now click on apps, view all, and let's search for a hiring manager. I cannot see the hiring manager because I need to again additional step which I have to do on creating the tab. So what I'll do is tab. So click on it, tabs. When we click on a tabs, click on a new button, custom object. We are creating the custom object. So we need to click on the new button on the custom object. So right now we have a hiring manager tab style. Let's use some tab style. Let's take a HR manager. Let's take something which is, this is already used. This is also already used. Okay, so let's take the phone and click on next. Second screen is the profile level, default on. Click on next. Third screen is where do you want it to show? Let's keep it as everybody. Let's click on it, save. Now, if I refresh this page, this Salesforce org, and if I click on the app launcher, now I can see the object. Now I can see the object. So if I type here hiring manager, now I can see the hiring manager. Now if I click on a new button, I can see hiring manager name, contact number, email address, current CTC. Did you observe one thing here? What did you observe in this page?
All fields are
Only required fields. Only required fields.
Only required fields it is showing. Only required fields it is showing. Now, for example, if I say this current CTC, right? Now, if I uncheck this, click on save. Now refresh. Now I can see only 2 fields. So this is the second drawback of the schema builder. First drawback is tab we cannot enable when we are creating an object from the schema builder. Second drawback is it only shows the mandatory fields on the page layout. It only shows the mandatory fields on the page layout, which is not mandatory. We cannot see them by default. So we have to go to the tab. We have to go to that particular object, click on a page layout. By default, the page layout gets created by the Salesforce. Click on the page layout, hiring manager layout, and now we have to drag that. So which is additional step. For example, I wanted to place here current CTC. Owner, I wanted to place here. Hiring manager and the email address I wanted to place here. And the contact number this side. Designation, let's put it here. Location, let's place it here. Now I'm designing the page layout. I'm designing the page layout. If I click on a save, now I can see all the fields if I click on a new button. By default, schema builder does not put all the fields on the page layout. Only the required members, only the required fields only I can see. So it will take time to reflect it. So that is the second drawback. That is the second drawback. Now, right? So drawbacks are while creating the custom object and adding the fields, schema builder causes the 2 drawbacks. The first one is while creating a custom object, Schema Builder will not provide the tab for object. That means you will not see a checkbox, as we have discussed that you cannot see the tab checkbox. Second one is, while adding the fields to the object through the Schema Builder, it will represent only the mandatory fields on the page layout. Whatever the option fields are there, those fields by default, it will not show on the page layout. By default, those fields, optional fields, will not be visible on the page layout. So in case if we want to be displayed on the page layout, we have to manually go to the page layout and modify the page layout so that it will be reflected on the clicking on new button. So these two are drawbacks. Any questions on the Schema Builder?
And what about that global pick list? Like if we are already having pick list, like can we make into that for a particular object?
No, that is also not available. Now let's take example of designation. So designation, when we are creating it, okay, it's not showing. Let's place it another pick list. So another, when I drag it, it does not ask me that do we wanted to take the global pick list, right? So that option also we cannot have it on the Schema Builder. We cannot have it on the Schema Builder. Only we can enter the values.
So can we consider that as a drawback?
Yeah, that is also one of the drawback. So in the real time, when we use a Schema Builder, in case if you wanted to create a field very quickly on the object without looking at the permission set, or without looking whether it should be this field should be visible on the profile or a page layout, right? Whenever we are creating the field in through the object manager. So let's say I'm creating here text field. Whenever we are creating it, there are 4 screens which are available. The first one, which is going to ask me that, so what is the field name, length, everything it is going to ask me here. And the second screen, which is going to ask me field level security, right? So field level security. And the fourth one is, do you want to show this field on the page layout? These all options we cannot see on the Schema Builder. Whenever you wanted to create a field for a development purpose, not for the user end purpose, or it is not used for the user input, it is for the developer, like some field which we need it for the development purpose. Those scenarios, if you wanted to quickly create a field through the in OR, then go for a Schema Builder. But I would not suggest go for a Schema Builder for the real-time scenarios where it is like a user is entering the data, right? Always create it from here, because you will have a certain information like who can see this field, who can see this field. So there are, in the real time, whenever we are creating a field, few users we do not want to show the field. Few users we do not want to show the field. And few users we wanted to show the field, but it should be read-only mode. So different criteria will be there in the real time. So if you are going to create a field that is for the user input, then go to the object manager, create a field. But if you think that you need to create a field for just for a developer purpose, then later if you delete it, or maybe we cannot use it, or just for a testing purpose, or for the playing fun, you can definitely go to the Schema Builder and create it. Because when you create it from the Schema Builder, there is an additional effort you have to put it. That is only the concern. Right? So if you are ready to put an additional effort by going to the object manager and clicking on that particular field, that's perfectly fine. Like for example, I have created a current CTC. Now I don't know which all our users can see this field. So in that case, I can click on set field level security and I can check, okay, right now it is visible for everybody. No, I do not want the field should be visible for these two profile users. So I'll uncheck and I'll click on the save button. So this is something additional feature. So this is also another drawback, field level security, which is not available from the Schema Builder. Any questions? Okay. So homework 1, create a custom object called course through the Schema Builder and add the below custom fields to the object. Field course name, which is a standard field. Location. So we have a different location. So what is the data type for this?
Pick list data type.
So we have a different locations here. The course code is a alphanumeric. Course code is alphanumeric. So what is the data type here?
Text.
Course fees. What is the data type?
Currency.
Course duration.
Number.
Text.
Number. So it's number. So let's make the course code is a mandatory. Course fees is a mandatory. Course duration is a mandatory. Okay. So these three are mandatory. Second homework, create a custom object called student through the Schema Builder and create a field student name, which is a standard field, student number, which is a alphanumeric. What is the data type here?
Text only.
Text, location, pick list, student address,
Text.
Text area or text.
Text
text
area.
area, grade,
Grade.
Number.
Percentage means
grade A, grade B, grade C,
Text.
text.
student hobbies,
Text.
Text area.
so make it as a student number is a mandatory, grade is a mandatory, student hobbies is a mandatory. So student hobbies should be text area because you will be entering the multiple hobbies. Or if you wanted to go for a text also fine, but take it as a length to 55 characters. Now, coming back to the question, what is a Schema Builder?
The graphical representation of UI.
Tool. Graphical representation tool.
Objects.
Where we can create objects and also fields. Useful
Right.
for the quick creation of objects.
Right. What are different elements can be created using the Schema Builder?
Objects and elements.
Elements and objects.
In that objects,
Fields.
fields,
Relationships.
relationships.
Right. What are Schema Builder drawbacks?
It will not create.
Create the tab in
Unable to
Does it
enable
create the
to
tabs?
tabs.
Only
And
mandatory.
showing only required
Only
fields
shows
only.
required fields. Mandatory.
And it doesn't allow global pick list.
Yes. So next topic is we are moving on the field history tracking. What is field history tracking? Why do we need a field history tracking? So field history tracking, before understanding the field history tracking, let's take a scenario. If you observe nowadays, everywhere you can see the CC cameras. Whether it's a traffic main road or it's an institute or an office or theater, shopping mall, apartment, everywhere you can see the CC camera is loaded, right? Everywhere we can see that. Why they are keeping the CC cameras?
For security purpose,
It's secure.
Security
for
purpose,
tracking all the records.
What they are doing.
tracking.
What
All the
happened
activities.
before?
All the activities.
What happened previously, right? So basically, why they kept this, because they wanted to know if something, in order to avoid the issues which are happening, or if he wanted to check in the apartment who are coming in or who are going out, right? Or in the institute, what is happening, how many members are coming. In order to track that, we use CC cameras, because we wanted to track every day if there is some issue, or if there is anything happening on it. But do we keep the CC cameras? For example, we have an apartment, okay? In the apartment, I'll keep the CC camera in the entrance, right? And we have a CC camera in the lift. And then we have a CC camera on as soon as we land onto the floor, we have a CC camera. But as soon as we enter into the house, we do not have a CC cameras, right? That means CC cameras are not placed in each and every place. Like in institute, we can keep the CC camera in entrance or in the reception, but we cannot keep the CC cameras on the classroom, right? So, or there are some rooms which we cannot keep it. So that means we need to track it. Definitely a track should be there. But the tracking has to be there before keeping the CC cameras. We need to understand which all are places that we really need to track it. Which are the places that we really need to track it. So first, the analysis goes on that. Where to fix the CC cameras? The analysis goes on that. So based on the analysis, either they keep a 2 CC cameras or 1 CC camera based on the requirement. Similarly, same concept in the Salesforce field history tracking. In object, I have 100 fields. First of all, field history tracking is basically to track it. What has been happened on that day, or before 5 days, or before 10 days, what has been happened on that particular field, right? In order to track that, we use a field history tracking, right? We use a field history tracking just to holding the previous data, or holding the what was happened, who has made a changes, when they have changed it, right? To understand that, we use a field history tracking, because if somebody made a changes on the field, we can ask them that, why did you make a changes without asking the client? Or somebody made a changes without asking the manager, right? So we can question them, why did you change it? Did you have a confirmation before changing the field, the data? Because in the Salesforce, data is very key, very important key. Data is very important key. In entire org, whatever you do, everything is maintained by the data. Everything we are dealing with the data. Whatever, whether you implement a business logic, you implement a Lightning Aura, Visual Studio, LWC, whatever we are implementing, all are by looking at the data. So data is very important in Salesforce. If somebody is changing a data in Salesforce, definitely we should know. That means whoever is managing the org, they should know what is the data it was there. What was the data previously it was there? Why did they change it? When they did change it? And what is the new value that has? So in order to understand that, we have a concept called field history tracking. In order to understand that, we have a field history tracking. But let's assume that on the object level, I have 100 fields. I have 100 fields are there. Now, do I need to keep the field tracking on the 100 fields? Do I need to put a CC camera, or if I have a 6 rooms or a 7 rooms, do I need to fit that into the all the 7 rooms? No, right? We do not need it. Whatever the main area that we are thinking, only that place we need to put it. So that means before placing the CC camera, there will be definitely analysis goes on. Similarly, if you are enabling the field history tracking for any field, first we need to analyze 100 fields. Which field do I really need a tracking? Example, status, some of the status, right? So we wanted to track when the status was changed. If there is any amount related, if somebody changed any amount, we need to track that. Or there are some fields which are related to date or date time. So those are really need to track it. So these are some scenarios where we need to understand which field do we really need to track it, or else client will be giving you, which all fields needs to be tracked. By default, Salesforce does not enable anything here. Salesforce doesn't do anything here. Because while creating the object, developer decides it. Do I need a tracking on this object or not? Developer decides it, whether I need a tracking on this object or not. So based on the selection, we can enable, and Salesforce is providing maximum of 20 fields you can enable the tracking. History tracking you can enable for maximum 20 fields. So Salesforce limitation is maximum 20 fields you can enable the history tracking for the fields. For each object, you can enable 20 fields history tracking, which includes the custom object, standard object, everything. So 20 fields is the maximum where you can track it. Now, so by using this feature, we can track the history of the field inside the object. It will track the user's details, who modified the record values, along with the data and time. That means when this is modified, what is the date and time, and what is the old value and what is the new value that they have changed it. Everything can be tracked using the field history tracking, and can track up to maximum 20 field history per object. You can track only 20 fields. So if the client is saying that, if they are saying that they have a 21 fields or more than 20 fields that they wanted to track it, so just simply say that as per the standard Salesforce limitations, we can track only 20 field history. Only 20 fields we can track the history. So they can decide it which one is the mandatory. But in real time, maximum we can go 4, or maximum I can reach to 10 field history tracking. We will not go more than 10 field history tracking, because once you enable 20 field history tracking, then your history, the records will be too lengthy. So maximum we will go 10 fields in the real time. 10 fields in the real time. And the data, how long back the data you can store it? We can store maximum the last 18 months history tracking. 18 months, the last 18 months, that means last 1.5 years. It will track the history only for the last 1.5 years. So if there is more than 1.5 years, it will delete automatically. it will delete automatically. So the maximum we can maintain the data of last 1 year data. Last 1 year data, we can maintain it. If they are asking what has happened in 2020 or 2019, we cannot know that because we cannot view in the field history tracking. Only we can view this year as what are the 1.5 year back, the history is there, we can view from there. And prerequisites in order to implement this, in order to enable the field history tracking. If I wanted to enable history tracking for the specific field, then there is a prerequisites. The prerequisites are decided by the developer, Salesforce developer or a Salesforce admin. In case if you wanted to track a field history tracking inside the object, then we have to enable the checkbox called track field history while creating the object. While creating the object, there is an option called track field history. So this is the object, this is the field. So while creating the object, now here you have a track field history. Track field history. If you uncheck this, you cannot track it. You cannot track it. So this has to be prerequisites. In case if you want to enable the history tracking for the specific fields, first enable the checkbox in the object level. So there are 2 steps in order to track the field history. So first step is select the required field to be targeted. Track, that means which field that you wanted to enable the history tracking. So we need to go to the object manager. From the object manager, we need to select an object. So check whether the track field history is enabled for that object or not. And then click on a history tracking button, set history tracking button if it is not already there. And then select the fields, which one you wanted to track it. And then you have to check the checkbox. So let's go ahead and see. Now let's assume that right now we have a hiring manager. So for hiring manager, let's go ahead and create one record. Oh, this is not still reflected. Okay, let me go to the position. So I have a position. So in the position, let me create a new. So position is freshers. Number of vacancies, 20. Position is new. Location is Hyderabad. And open date is today. And milestone date, when it is going to be end, assume that it is going to end at 7. And minimum pay, I'm just giving some number here. And maximum pay up to 60,000. HR contact number, so I'll give some number. And email ID, hr@gmail.com. Okay, so passport required, travel required, and the position description. So let me open some positions. Okay, so let me open the Salesforce jobs in India. Go to the 100 more jobs. Salesforce developer. Let me take some responsibility here. So this is my responsibility. So what I'll do is I'll put it into the new position, skills required. Responsibilities, this is, and then let's take this here. Position description is 0 years experience with Salesforce knowledge. Okay. So this is fine. Let's click on a save button. Okay, skills required. Something is mismatching. Implement collaboration. Let's take out this. Click on save. Still it is. Right, so the record is created. Now this is the record is created. Now if I go to the related list, notes and attachment, now this is the record that is created. Now for this position, I wanted to track history tracking for the open date, if somebody is changing the open date, and the number of vacancies. So these two, I wanted to track the history. Now, so let's go to the position object. Position object. Now, here one thing I'll show you, track field history tracking, right? Track field history. Now this checkbox is enabled, right? Now this checkbox is enabled. Now a step back, let me go to the page layout. Now go to the related list. Because whenever you are making any changes here, you need a related list that is going to show a record. You need another related list here. Apart from the notes and attachment, you need another related list which is going to show our records. What was the old value? What is the new value? Who has changed that? So in order to track that, we have a related list called related list. In order to know the history, it always starts with the object name and then history. So position history. It is always your object name and the history. So what are the object? For example, your object is hiring manager. So your history will be hiring manager history. So if you click on a save, button, now just refresh it. You can see here the hiring manager. So the position history is enabled, right? So right now you can see a date when it is created, who is created, because it is a created, right? So that's the reason we do not have any original value, new value. So what I'll do is I'll go to the field and relationship, click on a set field history. So we have a button called set history tracking. So just click on that set history tracking. When you click on a set history tracking, I have a open date which is enabled. Along with that, I wanted to track the number of vacancies. Now let's click on a save. Now I have enabled the history tracking for number of vacancies and the open date. If I'm changing the open date, I'm changing from 13th to 16, and number of vacancies I'm changing to 15. So let's click on a save button. What will happen here? It is going to tell me that who has modified it, what is the original value, and what is the new value. So for the number of vacancies, original value is 20. And now the new value is 15. Now I can see who has modified it and when it is modified it and what is the time date time. Everything I can track it. Everything I can track it here along with the date as well as the time. And what was the original value? What is the new value? That means what is the old value? What is the new value? I can know from here. Right? That's how we will track the fields. Now let's suppose I'm unchecking this. Unchecking this, right? I have not yet saved. So again, I'm going back to the position. You can see position history and you can see when it is changed. As soon as I uncheck this, I'm unchecking the track field history on the object. On the object, I'm unchecking it and I'll click on a save button. As soon as I uncheck the track field history, what will happen? Let me refresh. It doesn't show any of the history tracking. It doesn't show any of the history tracking. Even when you go to the page layout, in the page layout also, you cannot see position history. You cannot see position history. See here, related list. Can I see the position history? I cannot see. There are activity history, approval history is there. But the position history, the object history, I cannot see. The object history, I cannot see. Because we have unselected the track field history. If you unselect it, you cannot see the history tracking. The object history, you cannot see. Object history, you cannot see. Once you enable, now I'll enable here. If you enable this, click on a save and go back to the page layout, click on a refresh. And now you can see the position history. Related list, see the position history is there. Right. Now I can refresh and I can view the position history. So that is the prerequisite. This is prerequisite. Any questions so far on the field history tracking? Now, if I switch to the classic, let me switch to the classic, click on a setup. Let's go to the object. So we have a objects here. Now let me go to the position. Now observe this. Here I can see right now it is enabled. Right now track history field is enabled. Track history field is enabled and I can see on the custom field level or a field and relationship level, there is a button called set history tracking. The button is available in the classic. Now, as soon as I uncheck, let me uncheck the track field history. I'm unchecking the track field history, click on a save. Now you can observe that track field history is unchecked. Now, whatever the button it was there, set history tracking. Now the button I cannot see. Everything it will disable related to history tracking for the field. The button I cannot see in the classic. That means in the classic, if you want to enable the field history tracking, if this is a unchecked, then you cannot see the button to enable. Whereas in Lightning, you can see the button, but the related list you cannot see. You can see the button, but in the related list, so button will be available in the Lightning, but you cannot see the related list, which is called as a position history. You cannot see the position history here. Any questions on the field history tracking? So the second step is add the history related to the list on the page layout. So in the page layout, we have to add the related list called whatever the object name is there, that object name, and it starts with the object name, ends with the history. So it has to be the position history. And click on save button, then you can see. Now questions. What will happen if we uncheck the track field history on object?
It doesn't show the related list.
It does not show the related list of the object history.
Object.
And how many fields can be tracked per object?
20, maximum 20.
20 in real time, 10 fields.
And homework 3, enable the field history tracking object student. In the homework 2, I have given to create an object called student. So for that student, enable the tracking. So that means for this student, whenever you are creating your object, check that track history. And the fields, student number, location, grade. So these 3 fields should be enabled history tracking. So history tracking should be there for the field student number, for the field location, for the field grade. Now, what will happen if it is a pick list? What will happen if it is a pick list? Does it show the old value? Does it show the old value? Let's go and enable the track history. What will happen if I change the pick list value? And I have enabled the history tracking. Does it show all the old values and the new values, or how it is going to display?
It's showing old values.
If you click on a set history tracking, you see here track changes only. Track changes only. Whereas for others, it says that track old value and a new value. For this one, it is going to say old value and new value. Whereas pick list or long text area or a rich text area, right? For that, what it is saying, it is track changes only. So what is that means? Now we have a position history. I'm changing the location. Let me add Bangalore. Click on a save. Let's go to the related list. What is happening here? It's giving me the location. It's giving me the location, but it did not give me what is the value it was there in the pick list. It just said that there is some changes happened on the location. Now again, I'll change it. Now this time I'll add Vizag. Click on save. Go to the related list. Right? It doesn't give the old value or a new value for the pick list, long text area or a rich text area. Right? For those, it is not multi-pick list. For those, it is not going to give you the original value. It just say that there is some changes happen to this pick list, but don't know what is the changes. You cannot track the changes on the pick list. You cannot track the changes on the pick list. So there is no use of putting the field enabling the history tracking for the pick list. Only the use is you will know that there is some changes happened on this date, this time, but we don't know what was the previous value. We don't know what was the previous value, that you cannot track it here for the pick list or a long text area, rich text or encrypted, right? So you cannot track the old value and the new value. Now, before moving the relationship, any questions? Okay. Now, let's come back to the relationships. Why we have a relationships in Salesforce? What is the purpose of having the relationship? What is the purpose of having the relationship? Why do I need a relationship? Cannot I implement everything into one table? Like I have a table here. Let's assume that I have an employee table. I have employee table. So when I say employee table, now whenever the new person is joining in the company, whenever new person is joining in the company, from the interview point of view, what we will see in employee, certain information we look at whether the whether it is a HR or a recruiter or whoever it is, they will look at the employee personal details and employee certifications and employee education and employee previous company details, previous experience. Right, these are the minimum that we look at the in the employee. Now, if I'm creating the employee table here, ideally when we are creating the employee table, it will be like employee ID, employee name, right? Employee name, and we'll have a employee location, and also we will see the department, which team they are hiring it, which department they are hiring it, right? So which department they are hiring it. So department. So as soon as the employee is joining the company, will create their employee ID and employee name and department, and what else we can take. So designation. So what is the position that they have hired it? So designation, right? So these are, and one more thing we can have is location, which location they have been hired. Along with this, ideally these are the main I needed. But employee has more details. Like a person detail, certification, education, right? Those all are there. So why can't I create here only? Like I'll create a person, another I'll create it here, which is for the personal details. I'll create it for the certification. I'll create it for the education. I'll create it for the experience, right? Each column I'll create it for whatever is required. Each column I'll create it, because personal details, I'll create a different columns for the personal details, and I'll create another column for the certification. I'll create another column for education. I will create another column for the previous experience. Like multiple columns cannot I create in the same table. What will happen if I do everything? I will push it into the single table. I'll create a 200 fields, 500 fields in one table. What will happen? What will happen if I do it this way? So let's take an example. I have a land, okay? So let's take a land is there. Okay, this is the land, which is assume that, I don't know how to say, 2 across or something. Okay, some land is there here. Okay, in this land, it's very big. Okay, in this land, I'll just build only one room. That's it. I'll not do in entire space. how much is the big land is there. I'll build only one room. In that room, what I'll do is I'll put kitchen items, I'll put bedroom items, I'll put hall items, right? I'll put bedroom, what are the bedrooms items are there, everything I'll put it here. And even washrooms, everything I'll place it in here only. What is happening here? I am creating a one room, but at the end, maybe initial, when you build it, that time it looks good. But as you go on, as you are pushing the so many items on that room, what will happen after some time? It's so much disturbance or a kind of a consuming, or you will see a lot of things are there here, right? Which is cannot be managed. You cannot be managed, or sometimes what you see that there are multiple items are there in the one room, right? So like a storeroom, we keep it a storeroom because if something is over, gas is over, we will take it from the storeroom. So what is, if you are creating a one room, storeroom also in the same room. So what you will do, you will see multiple items with the same format, cylinder, right? So same items you will see multiple times, and everything is a inconsistent. Everything is a inconsistent. You cannot implement this way. You cannot implement this way. You need to first analyze this. First, you need to analyze, okay, this is the land. In this land, okay, in this land, I need to divide it. I need to divide. So which way the kitchen should go, and is there any link from kitchen to hall? If there is any link, then that link has to be open. That means it has to be connected. The kitchen and hall has to be connected. Then I need to have a bedroom. So one bedroom, which is giving a space to here. And again, from there is another bedroom here. And from this bedroom to hall, I need a connection. So enable this connection. So like this, we will be building our house, the rooms will be building it, and we will building the connection to the each room, to one room to other room. That means there is a way if I wanted to go from one place to another place, right? Because I need to collect some stuffs from, if I am in the hall, right? If I'm eating, if I need some information, like I need to have a food, right? So that food will be available here. So I need to go to this place. I need to go to this place and get the food stuff, whatever is there, get it and place it here, right? So similarly in Salesforce, why we need a relationships is because the two things which is that. So one is data redundancy. That means repetition of similar item. The repetition of similar item. So repetition of similar items, like you will be seeing here similar items, right? Cylinder is a similar, or a different items you will see same thing which is repeating it, right? So for example, if you take here the example, right? So let's assume that employee is joined. So there is a employee ID gets created. So let's say E1001, there is a some name. Let's take Ashrita. So employee name is Ashrita. So let's take Ashrita and the designation, whatever the designation is there. So designation. So the designation is, let's assume that sales manager or manager, right? So department is, assume that there is a department called maybe sales department. and we have a location here, Hyderabad, right? And another person joined, another person is joined. So let's take 1002. Let's take Bhagya. And let's see, the designation is, let's assume that the designation is sales executive. And the department is, let's say, marketing. And this is in the, they have joined in the Mumbai. Like this, there are different employees are joining in the company. Everybody is like this person, the third person is also sales executive. And this person is also for marketing, right? This person is also marketing. And the person is also from Mumbai. Person is also from Mumbai. And there is another person who is joining it for manager designation, and the department is a sales, and the location is Hyderabad, right? So, and there is another person who is joining in, which is a service manager. So this person is a manager service, the department is service, and this is a location, let's assume that Hyderabad. So what is happening here if you observe it? The department and the location is repeated. The department and the location is repeated. That means I will have, there are multiple employees who are holding the same department and same location, who are holding the same department, same location. There are multiple employees who are for marketing department and the Mumbai location. There are multiple employees who are for sales department and same location, Hyderabad. And there are multiple employees who are department is service, the designation might be different. Department is service and the location is Hyderabad. So what is happening here? We are repeating the items, we are repeating it. So that means here the repetition of data is happening. Repetition of data is happening. Now, in order to avoid this repetition, now in case, let's suppose tomorrow, let's assume that I have another column here. Okay, I'm just giving another example here. I have another column which says that HOD email ID or HR email. HR email. HR email is common for everybody. Common for everybody. HRemail.com. This is common for like if I have a 200 employees or a 300 employees, for everybody HR email is common. Whatever the person is there, it is with the person name. Assume that HR is the person name. So with every person, every employee will have this email ID, right? So which is a repetition, the data repetition is happening here. Similar data I'm keep on entering for the every record. Every record I'm entering the data. Every record I'm entering the data. Tomorrow, if for suppose there is a new HR policy came into the company and possible that the email ID is changed. Now, in that case, if I have a 10,000 records or if I have a 20,000 records, all the 20,000 records HR email has to be updated. HR email has to be updated. If I have a HR name here, HR name should be updated. If I have a HR number, the number has to be, phone number has to be modified for the 10,000 records. What is happening here? The repetition of the same data, I am doing it for the multiple records, which is unnecessary. That means I'm not handling my table properly. I have not designed it. So here, whatever you see the land after how the rooms are designed very well. The person can go from here, the person can go from here, the person can go from here, right? Everything is designed very well. But here, what is happening? Everything I'm pushing into one table, everything I'm pushing into one table. So there are two issues which are happening if I create everything into one table. Two issues. One is data redundancy, which is nothing but repetition of similar data. Repetition of similar data. This is the first one. And the second one is data inconsistency. Data is not proper. Data is inconsistency. So after few days, you will see that there are few records which are still holding the old value of the HR, old number of the HR, old name of the HR. So multiple places you will see the disturbance there. For example, the company has changed the department name here. They have changed from the sales to some other name, they have kept it. Now, what will happen if they change the department name? You have to look at all the records who are having the department here, sales. Everybody, you need to change the department, right? If you miss anything, as a human being, we can miss something, right? So definitely there is a lot of data inconsistency will happen. The data is not proper. Data is not proper. So let's take another scenario. For example, assume that you are putting everything into single table. So when you are putting everything into single table, what will happen? You can see all the fields are showing like this, right? You will see multiple fields, like a 200 fields or whatever fields you have. Everything you can see in same page layout. Everything you can see in same page layout. 200 fields entering the data here, which is, it is going to take 200 seconds. It is going to take 200 seconds, right? If you have a more than 200 fields, it is going to take more than what are the time is needed. Like you, if it is a pick list, like if there are a lot of things are there, you need to enter all the data, because in the real time, we enter all the information. Right? So during our practice time, what we are doing it, we are just entering the mandatory information. But in the real time, whether it is mandatory or not, we need all the data should be present in the every field. So if you are entering the 200 fields in the one layout, suddenly what happened? There is a internet connection gone. The internet connection is down. Suddenly the connection gone down. What will happen before clicking on a save button? You are about to click on a save button here, and then you see that maybe because of the internet connection or because of lot of load on the page, because definitely if you have a 200 fields means there is a lot of load on the page, the performance will be decreased. So because of that, there is some connectivity issue happened. Then you are going to lose all the data, whatever you have entered here. You are going to lose all the data, whatever you have entered, which is not right way. Always keep your page layout, your object, very simple and straightforward, and which will take very less time to create a record. Which will take very less time to create a record. Now, that's the reason we have, in order to avoid, we need to implement relationship in order to avoid data redundancy and data inconsistency. Data redundancy, data inconsistency. Let's take another example, like I have a student table, and also I have, this is HOD details. This is not that. This is HOD details. So when we are studying in the BTech or degree, whatever it is, so we have a student table and a HOD details, right? So student table, we have many students in the college. So let's take a student 001, some mark in the email, and we have a 002. Let's assume that there are 2 students are there. So each student, right? Each student will be holding a branch, because the student might be in the CSE branch, the student might be in ECA branch, multiple students can be in the same branch, right? So I have a different branches here, CSE, ECE, or triple E, IT. These are the different branches we have. Now in CSE, there are might be possible that 20 students are there. Now in ECE, possible that 30 students are there. In EE, possible that there are 10 students are there. And IT, it is possible that 40 students are there. Right? It is possible. But if you merge these two, what will happen? The data redundancy is going to definitely happen. So what I have done is I have divided the table. I have created a separate room for student table, and I have created a separate room for HOD details. These two are separate rooms. In this student table, or in this room, I'm holding just a student information. I'm not holding any other information. I'm just holding the student information. In HOD, I'm going to hold only the HOD information or a branch information So like here, I have a CSC and ECE is there, right? So assume that there are a few more students. Now, possible that student 1 and student 3 are CSE branch, and student 2 and student 4 is a ECE branch. Now I have to link this. In order to link this, we need to implement a relationship. That means I have created 2 tables. That means I have separated the data in different rows. Whatever the data I have, the repeated items, whatever I can see, that those repeated items I placed into the different table, and what are the student details are there, I have placed into the student table. Now I need to enable the connection between the 2 tables. I need to enable the connection between the 2 tables so that I know tomorrow, I know that if I'm reviewing the mark details, I can know from here which branch he is, whether he is a CSE or ECE. I can only know that if I implement a relationship between these 2 tables. Between these 2 tables, if I implement a relationship, that means if I open the student table, when I open the student table, it has to go and get the related record and show me that related record here. Show me the related record here. Now, how we are going to do that? Let's see. Any questions so far? Whatever we have discussed them. Whatever we have discussed, any questions? Okay, so now what I'll do is, I'll just separate this. What are the department details are there? I'll just separate it. And then I'll create it here. This is a separate table. And this is separate table. So this table is employee table. This table is employee table, where I have employee ID, employee name, designation. And this is again the separate table where I have a department ID, because I need an ID here. So we'll take the ID. So we'll use department ID. So this is my department ID. And this is department table or a department details. This is my department details. Now here I have each row is assigned some number here, 401, or let's take a 001, D001, and D002, and D003, and D004. Like this, every row there is a ID is allocated for that. ID is allocated for that. Now, we have created two tables here. We have created two tables, two separated. The tables are separated. Now I need to implement. Now I need to implement a relationship between these two. Whatever these two are there, I need to implement it. In order to implement, the first thing which I need to know is, which I need to understand, the first step is, we need to identify which one is the parent. Identify the parent object. Identify the parent object and child object. Identify the parent object and child object. Because both cannot be at the same level. One has to be parent, one has to be child. One has to be parent, one has to be child. Then only we can build the relationship in Salesforce. Now, what are we have? We have a department details is the another table. Second one is a employee table, right? Employee table is there. Employee table. Now, how do I know that which one is parent, which one is child? How do I know that? How can you identify? Now I have two tables. How can you identify in the real time also? This is that you will be mostly seeing it. How you will identify which one is a parent, which one is a child?
Can a child has parent will associate with the
Like parent contains few records and child contains multiple records. By that way we can, for example, one department have multiple employees, but one employee should be in single department. By that way we can consider map.
Right. So parent child is basically how you are going to identify. Let's take a scenario. The scenario is the child has born. Okay, the human, I'm just taking the real-time example. So the baby girl is born. Okay, so after a few months or after 1 year, everybody says that the baby eyes are same as parent, right? Same as mom. The baby nose is same as father, right? Same as father. So how you are going to identify? So parent can have multiple child, right? They might be having a 4 kids or 5 kids. It's possible, but ultimately, how can we identify these kids are their parent? The kids are for these parents, right? So if we stand like if they are in the group, okay. So if somebody asks you to identify. So there is some program in Telugu also. So if they will put some kid photo and they will give us some different parent photos. If we have to identify kid, who is the parent of this kid? So what we'll try to see, we will try to identify the features, right? So if the features are matching, then I'll say that, okay, maybe this is the parent who is, because I see that matching eyes, matching nose or like that, right? So the same concept also here, you will see the related information. You will see the related information and one record is, for example, if you see there is a employee is joined. Okay, whenever the employees join, the first thing which we are going to ask is that which team did you join? Which team did you join? Because we need to know, because the person has to be placed in that team. So multiple employees can be holding the same team, or they are in a same team. They are in the same team. Okay. So just ignore that. What are the example I have told? Okay, so for example, here the department is sales department. Like we have a different teams, development team, testing team, and analysis team, admin team, right? So when we have a one common team, and I see that within the team, there are multiple employees can work. That means child will be multiple. If you have a single record, the record is single, the parent is single. This is my parent record. Parent is single parent, but within this parent can be connected to the multiple childs. This parent can be connected to the multiple childs. So whenever you see the records or the data, you see that you need to analyze that if you want to link the two tables. This is actually the architect analysis, which I can say when the actual project comes into the company. So what they will do is first they will decide what are the objects that are needed. Now they will check, okay, I need to link the relation between these two tables. So what is the first thought that it will come to them is, now how can I link? Like in order to link this, I need to have a sum table as a parent, sum table as a child. Now in Salesforce, you cannot have a multiple parent concept. In Salesforce, we cannot have a multiple parent concept. Only one parent can have a multiple child. Okay. Now, if I open the parent record, I can see multiple child records. There is a different concept altogether if you want the multiple parent, that anyway we will discuss it. But here, what I am talking here, if I open the parent record, I can see multiple childs. I can see multiple child records. Multiple child records. For example, if I open the account here, what can I see? I can see the contacts. So one account can be connected to the multiple contacts. That means contact is a child. Contact is child and account is parent. Account is parent. Parent always will have a single record, whereas child will be associated, multiple childs can associated to single parent. Now in that scenario, if we observe it, okay, in that scenario, if I take, which one is the parent, which one is the child?
Department
Account is
and
the parent.
employee is child.
Employee is,
Child.
this is a child, and department details are
Parent.
Parent.
Because if I open the department record, in Salesforce, whenever I'm opening the department record, I can see in the related list multiple child records. That means multiple employee details I can see here. That means I can know that if I open the department, who all are there within this department? So this is the first one, is a department. If I open the department record, I can see in the related list who all are employees. This is might be the employer 1, and this is employee 2, employee 3, like this, employee N. Whoever is linked with this department, I can know that how many members are actually working in this department. Right? So in this case, here the department details is parent, and the employees is and the employee is child. Now I got the clarity. Which one is a parent, which one is a child. Now, once we get the clarity, now I know this is a parent, this is a child. I know this is the parent, this is the child, right? This is the parent and this is the child that I know. But which type of relationship do I need to implement? Which type of relationship that I need to implement? Salesforce has a different relationships. That means, do I need to build this table very tightly, or it has to be loosely coupled? Or it has to be a different way, right? So we need to understand which type of relationship that I needed. So the second thought, it goes to whenever we are designing the object, the second thought, it goes to the what is the relationship? Which relationship do I need to implement? Like map the relationship between the two objects. Between two objects. Now, in order to map the relationship between the two objects, first I need to understand what is there are multiple ways which we can do it in Salesforce. The first one is a lookup relationship. The first one is lookup relationship. And the second one, which we have, external lookup relationship. External lookup relationship. And the third one is we have a master detail relationship. Master detail relationship. Fourth one is hierarchical relationship. Now, the question for the whoever is designing it, the question for is, they will first think which relationship do we wanted to implement between these two. Now I know which one is a parent, which one is a child, I know. Now what kind of a relationship that it needs to be implemented? Do I need to implement a lookup relationship? Do I need to implement an external lookup relationship? Do I need to implement a master detail relationship? Do I need to implement a hierarchical relationship? So they will researching on this. What is the, if I implement lookup relationship, what is going to happen? If I implement an external lookup relationship, what is going to happen? Why do I use external lookup relationship? And when do I need to use a master detail relationship? When do I need master detail relationship? And when do I use a hierarchical relationship? What will happen if I use a hierarchical relationship? Do I really need to implement the hierarchical relationship in the real time or not? So everything we will see. But whenever you are doing this, the object creation or the object implementation, whenever you are doing it, there are two steps which we have to follow. We need to understand which one is the parent, which one is the child, and you need to understand the relationship, which type of a relationship that you need to implement. Because in order to understand that, you need to understand what are the advantages, or when I use the lookup relationship, what are the advantages and how can I implement? And if I wanted to change in future, will it be possible or not? Everything we have to keep in consideration. Any questions before I go on? So in Salesforce, relationships, an object relationship in Salesforce is two-way association between the two objects. That means relation between the two objects. So relationships are created by the custom relationship objects, like in order to link, to connect, like what will happen if I link it, what will happen? Now, let's say that I have linked, assume that I have already linked the relationship. When I link the relationship, okay, when I link the relationship, what will happen? Basically, in order to create this relationship, you need to create one additional field. You need to create one additional field. Using that additional field, you will be deciding that which type you wanted to go for it. So you need to create a field in the object. So when you select creating a new field, there will be a few options which relationship that you wanted to go for it. So when you implement that additional field, that means you are creating a column. You are creating a column here. You are creating a column here. This column is, assume that this column name is, what are the department ID? So you will be giving here department. Department. Okay. So whatever this relationship field is there, okay, whatever this field is there, this field always stores, always save the ID. It doesn't save the value. At the backend in the database table, it always save the ID like a D001 and sales executive, right? D001 or D002 marketing. So sales executive marketing D002. Manager, so D001 and service manager D004. So that means based on this, I'll look at this designation and this person has joined in sales department, in the sales department. For this sales department, the ID is D001. So let's save the D001. So this is in the table, But when you open the user interface, if the field is like, if it is a field is department here, okay, and this is on the user interface. So what you will see here, you will see the department name, the standard field that gets created, the department name, right? So you will see here sales, but at the back end of this, it is always stores into the ID. Backend in the data table, it stores as a ID, but in the user interface, it displays the name of the object, whatever the department name is there, or department auto number, whatever the name is there, you will see that name. So similarly, if you go to the account, now let's take an example, or let's take a lead. So when you go to the lead, and when you open up the lead object, now you see here the account, or it does not have account. Let's go to the opportunity. Let's open the opportunity details. Now you see here account name. It is actually a relationship. That means this is implemented a relationship. Opportunity has a relationship with the account. Now here it shows as a sales. But at the back end, it save as a 18-digit ID. This will be in the table. It will save as a 18-digit ID. So that's the reason when you click on this, your 18-digit ID gets updated in the URL and you can able to see the account. So whenever we implement a relationship, the field gets created, the new field gets created. In that field, at the back end, it is going to store the 18-digit ID in this table, but at the user interface, you will see the department name of that row. What are the department name, or if it is a department auto number, you will see the auto number here. You will see the auto number. So while mapping the association among the object, we have to follow the below two steps. The first one is identifying the parent object and child object. And second one, map the relationship between the object. Always we have to map the relationship from the child to parent. Always you have to look up to the parent. Always you have to look up to the parent. That means you have to create a relationship in the child object. You have to create a relationship in the child object. You have to always look up for the parent. Parent will not look for child. Child has to look for a parent. Now in this opportunity, whatever I have shown you, so opportunity is a child or parent?
Child, ma'am.
Child.
Because it is always looking up to the parent object called account. So child always look up to the parent. So we'll have a field, relationship field is always within the child table. So these two steps are important whenever you are creating an object in the real time. And for the second step, in order to implement the relationship, we have to create an additional field by specifying the different relationships. One is a lookup relationship, external lookup relationship, master detail relationship, hierarchical relationship. So there are 4 different relationships are there. We will see each one of them step by step. Now, any questions? Is everybody clear why we have a relationship? No. So we'll just discuss the lookup relationship, but actual program we will do it tomorrow. Use case we will do it tomorrow, but let's understand the lookup relationship. Lookup relationship is the first one is a lookup relationship. So by using this feature, we can map the relationship among the 2 objects inside the organization. And we will see more about this tomorrow. So basically, in order to implement any relationship, the first easiest way is you can go for the lookup relationship. And we will see this use case tomorrow. Homework. Okay, this is not done. Okay, questions. What is the relationship?
Relationship between parent and child relationship.
Connecting 2 objects.
To connecting 2 objects for reducing the data redundancy and data inconsistency.
Right. So the relationship in Salesforce is 2-way association between the 2 objects. And in order to avoid the redundancy and data inconsistency, we need to create a relationship. That means we need to separate the data. What are different type of Salesforce relationship?
4 types: lookup, master
type,
detail, external
relationship,
and hierarchical.
external lookup relationship, master detail relationship, hierarchy relationship.
Right. So we have 4 relationships. We will see step by step each one of them tomorrow.
Swapna, here one thing, lookup relationship means 1-to-1.
We will see that tomorrow. Okay. If we create a use case, then we will understand how it implement.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so what did we learn so far?
Schema builder.
How to create
and
objects and fields by using schema builder.
field history tracking.
So the conclusion is
Schema builder
Drawbacks.
create fields and objects in schema builder.
Field history
Set field history tracking.
relationships.
field history tracking relationship. We will see tomorrow.
Lookup relation.
Okay, this is the conclusion. So in trial head, just go through make sure complete the last one. This data modeling and quick start lightning connect. So it is explaining the external data source, external object, lookup relationship, and external lookup relationship, everything it is explaining it. You can go through that. And the next one which we have is object relationship schema builder. So data modeling. Okay. And then this is also, we'll see tomorrow. Sorry, this is also complete this trial head. So these two trial heads are important for now. Have you guys completed the Web2 lead and the community data security? CRM data, sharing the CRM data. Yes or no? Are you guys doing the trial heads?
Completed.
Yes, Shobha, I completed.
Thank you. So we will see rest of the things tomorrow, like limits, everything, the object limits or the org limits, whatever is there. And we will see the relationship will continue tomorrow.